This is starting to become a really common spot to start the video. Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff we've been doing recently. We have to lift the car up. The final steps are being done to get this car track ready. And it kind of sucks because we're not doing like a cool mod per se. It's more like dialing things in. Like we said in the last video, something inside of here is shifting, which we believe to be the brake shoe. So I have an entire kit. We got all these springs and random stuff. We got the brake shoes. We're gonna rebuild the whole side. So I tried everything. I took out the brake pads, I tried shifting it, maybe it was the wheel bearing or something. Nothing. So we're gonna start with this, because this is what's actually wrong. Then we also have to raise up the front suspension a little bit. But it sucks because the gap is so nice. It's like a good difference between slammed and functional. But clearly it's not good enough because we're getting a lot of rubbing sometimes, depending on how large a bump is. And I really don't know that I wanna go any stiffer on the coilover, so this was the compromise. So let's get started, get this thing in the air, pop this off, and let's see if this can finally get rid of this noise. So I guess the nice thing about having to tear stuff down so many times, and also having an older car, is that it seems pretty quick to tear everything down because you've had to do it so many times. So I gotta pull these brake pads and all these shims out and everything, and then behind here is 2 bolts so I can actually get this caliper off, and then I can slide out our rotor, and then we'll be able to get to the disc brake back there, and we'll just replace it. I was gonna inspect it to see if I needed to order anything, but I think we should just go ahead and replace it because I'm sure it's rusted out. So let me take it apart. So here we are, everything disassembled. I'm kind of trying to build it with the new parts off to the side so that way I know kind of how it goes back together. But I do think that this is our culprit because it does shift back and forth whenever I was pressing on it. So maybe that's what's causing our issues. I don't know anything else on here that could be causing this problem. But I'm just gonna go ahead, rip this apart, put the new one on, and you guys will see when it's back together. And hopefully we are done with this issue. This is the last thing that we need before everything is perfect on this car, besides adjusting the suspension. And I think we'll be sitting in a really good spot performance-wise, take this car on the track, see how it does. And overall, I think it's just gonna feel like a much better car. So let's tear into it. With some persuasion, we got everything all apart. Let's try and put the new one on. So I kinda had to use some old hardware, but as you can see, it's finally all put together. Let's finish this up and hope that it fixed it. Let's go take it for a test drive. Okay, moment of truth time. No noise around that corner, but I think we have to hit it a little harder. Sometimes I've noticed that it was a lot worse at first, but then over time, it kind of started not sounding as bad if you weren't going around a super tight corner. So I know where we can go around a super tight corner. It's also not at slow speeds or anything either. You gotta be picking up some speed, which made me think that something was shifting in there because the only way it's moving is if you actually pick up momentum. Like if I just took a 5-mile-an-hour turn, like if I was at a stop sign or a red light or something and then turning right, you wouldn't hear it. You'd have to get like some momentum going. So let's drive there, test it out. Okay, here we go. Take it around this corner at like 30. Let me do some more testing, see what it sounds like. Just when I thought things were gonna get worse, I'm very impressed that the noise is finally gone. But that means we're on to our last task before this thing is track ready. And like I said before, to fix that, we are going to raise the front up just a little bit. Because you can kind of see right now just how close it is to the fender, and depending on what kind of bumps we go over, it does scrape the tiniest bit. So I think if we raise it up like 1/4 of an inch, 1/3 of an inch, it should be fine. And I think this kind of needs done anyway, because as you can see, the car is kind of sitting like this when it needs to sit parallel. Okay, so now that we have our wheel off here, we can go ahead and see what our height is between these 2 collars. I think that's what they're called. We're gonna take our tape measure the distance between the 2, and then we'll add like 1/3 of an inch just to make sure we have enough clearance. Maybe if I was like actually tracking the car and like trying to get faster lap times and stuff, I'd make sure it's dialed in a lot more, but we're kind of just going for having clearance and still being low enough that it's like slam. So let me go adjust both sides and we'll test it out. Okay, so we were at 2.5 and now we are at 2 3/4. Then all I gotta do is take our tool here and lock this, and I'll give it some more force off camera. But that's just essentially how you go about changing the height. It's actually really quick. So now with both sides done, you can kind of see before we had like a 1-finger gap, and now it's like, you could call it maybe 2, but it's more like 1.5 probably, because I gotta like go like this just to fit it in there. So with this being done, we can finally go ahead and get our alignment take this thing to the track. And like we said, this really isn't a track car. I mean, I kind of more built it to be a togi build or a toge build, however they say it. Basically, I want it to carve up the canyons because I feel like with the horsepower level and the different mods that we have on it, that's what it'll probably be most capable at instead of flying down the track. But I still think it'll be a good test to see just how much our mods actually improve the car over stock. So this is how she sits for now. Finally got that rear fixed so it's not scraping anymore around the corners, and we finally lift up the front just enough so that way it won't scrape sometimes when we're going over bumps. Now of course we can't end this video off without taking it out for a drive and seeing if we did anything. Because if it didn't do anything, I'll just be showing you guys after I checked it all over again and raised it up more. I mean, so far, everything seems pretty smooth. I mean, I've been ripping it around for a good minute and I don't hear any of the noises that it would make whenever I hear it hit the wall a little bit or the fender liner. So I think it's safe to say that we're all good. And I think actually me raising it up 1/4 of an inch was a lot better than me raising it up 1/3 of an inch. Even though it's really not that big of a difference, I think that this was just enough to make it to where we're getting enough clearance that we're not rubbing anymore, but then we're also keeping that low profile still, and it still looks stanced out really nice. So I think we can go ahead, get our alignment done, and this thing should be all set up for the track. I really can't wait to take it out again because it has been so long since I've driven this on the track, and I feel like just with all the different mods that we've done, it's going to be so much better of an experience than it was whenever it was stock, because you couldn't really push the car that much, especially with how old everything was. Maybe if it was brand new, like you just bought it in 2002. But parts were out, and with all the parts on this starting to go bad and needing replaced, and me ripping it on the track with all those old parts, I mean, it really was a setup for failure. So it'll be nice to see the performance improvement now that we have actually done all these modifications to it, and maybe we can even find a good stretch of some back roads or something and take it down that, and I can set up all the cameras and stuff like I would if we were going to the track. With all that, guys, it finally sits in a good spot with all these upgrades to go on the track and just have some fun with. Even if we were just upgrading to regular stock suspension, but it was just actually not rusted out or used for 20 years, it would be better. But I think it's so nice that we have Fortune Auto coilovers, this big brake kit, which is really just from a 06, 07, I believe. But all this put together with the stage 2 the car is running, I think is just the perfect mix of power and performance and handling. I couldn't be happier though. I think it's a good blend. A lot of people try and make like 600 horsepower cars and stuff, and for some platforms that makes sense, but for this I feel like it's a good happy medium. There's a little bit more room for power and stuff that we could do in the future, but for now with all the mods I feel like it all goes together very well. So this is where I'm going to leave you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Look out for another video that's coming soon with this car. We'll be doing a lot of stuff with this car. It's because I'm excited about the different mods we've finally been able to do to it, because I've owned it for so long, but we haven't done all these cool mods to it, so it's nice to actually see it getting some love. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, dislike, subscribe, all those things. We'll see you in the next video. Peace!